Thank you for the introduction, Anna. And so thank you for the invitation to participate at this International Congress of DAO Deficiency. I'm Nicoleta, Pasecinic, a Regulatory Affairs Manager at Pen Tec Consulting. And in today's topic, we're going to look at some safety and regulatory considerations in regards to DAO supplementation. First, we will dive into what is the legal status of DAO supplements in the EU. Then we're going to compare what is the regulatory framework like in the US. Well, we're also going to look at different labeling requirements and also looking at some data safety requirements when it comes to dossiers, how to substantiate safety for these supplements. So when we talk about food supplements in the regulatory world, there are really three things that we want to pay attention to: whether the supplement has a legal status, whether it's safe for consumption, and whether the label is compliant. And to answer the first question, we usually have to check what is the novel food status of the product. And in the EU, Regulation 2015-2020-83 provides that only novel food that is authorized and included in the Union list of novel foods is allowed to be placed on the market. What does a novel food authorization mean? It means that it has passed through a safety evaluation pre-market and that the product is safe for consumption. There are essentially two main bodies involved in this novel food process. It's the European Food Safety Authority, short for EFSA. It performs a safety evaluation. So the producer provides a dossier providing safety and technical data about the product, and then it's EFSA's responsibility to assess the information and conclude whether the product is safe or not. And then this conclusion on safety is discussed at the European Commission level, and it's the European Commission who then grants an authorization for the product. And considering that actually the process can be anywhere between 1.5 years to 3 years, there's quite a delay when we think about that from the R&D phase until actually the product is placed onto the market. Such a long time passes by. So what is a novel food? It is any ingredient, any substance, even a manufacturing process that has not been used or consumed in the EU before 15th of May 1997. So this can include any new sources, food produced from new sources, produced with new technology, either having a different molecular structure, or even food that is coming from outside of the European Union. It's also important to take into consideration what is not a novel food. So under the legal definition, food enzymes, additives, flavorings, extraction solvents, and genetically modified food, they do not fit within the novel food definition and they have their own separate legal pathway. Okay, so we had a bit of a background into novel food and novel food regulation, and this is the reason why. So currently the diamine oxidase food supplements that you currently see commercialized on the market, they are sourced from protein extract from pig kidney. And this is an authorized novel food included in the Union list of novel foods, Regulation 2017-2470. According to this authorization, the protein extract is allowed to be used in food supplements and food for special medical purposes. These are two very distinct legal categories, and we're going to look at how they differentiate in their labeling in the next slides. Also, according to the authorization, the supplement is allowed to be authorized in two forms, either as capsules or as tablets. The authorization also specifies the maximum amount, daily amount of the extract and allowed daily. So it's 12.6 milligrams of extract, which translates into 0.9 milligrams of DAO. Lastly, but also importantly, the authorization has specific limits that the final product that is placed onto the market has to adhere by. And so let's have a look in the next slide. So in the next slide, I'm not going to present you the whole specification. You can check it in the union list. However, I did extract some important parts from the specification of protein extract from pig kidney. So one important part is the definition. So products placed onto the market, they have to agree with how the product is manufactured and the source. So it has to be coming from the pig's kidney, and it has to be manufactured through a combination of salt precipitation and high-speed centrifugation. The result will be that the extract will contain 7% diamine oxidase. We also saw that there's two forms in which the supplement is allowed. So either as encapsulated enteric-coated pellets or as enteric-coated tablets. And this is so that it reaches the active sites of digestion. Also, very importantly, in order to make sure that the product placed onto the market is of a good quality and it's safe, every product that is placed has to adhere by certain limits. So in regards to their physicochemical characteristics, but also according to their microbiological limits. So here I have this authorization clearly distinguishes between the specification for the extract as a liquid and extract in the final formulation, so as a tablet or as a capsule. The difference is besides the physical condition appearance in pH value, but also in the diamine oxidase activity, which is measured by the diamine oxidase ratio extraction assay. So even the method of analysis is included in the specification for the authorization. So just as a conclusion to all of this, the products that are placed currently on the market that come either as pellets or as tablets, so the food supplements and the food for special medical purposes, they have to adhere by these specifications. So we talked about that the protein extract from pig kidney is allowed to be used in food supplements and food for special medical purposes. I just wanted to take a step back and actually understand what is the difference between them from a legal point of view. So the legal definition of a food supplement says that it's any foodstuff, the purpose of which is to supplement the normal diet of the general population. Whereas the definition for FSMP is to any foodstuff that is formulated to help in the dietary management of patients. Importantly, to be used under medical supervision. So just straight from the definition, we can see a difference in the intended use of these two legal categories. One is to supplement the normal diet of the general population, whilst the other is to help in the dietary management of those patients that cannot achieve the nutrients from just regulating the normal diet. Important to mention that both products can have the same active substances of vitamins and minerals, amino acids, or other active substances with physiological properties. However, they are not considered medicine, as you might know. And so because of that, the labeling and the advertising of these products, they cannot have any claims to the fact that they cure, prevent, or treat a specific disease. Here I wanted to show you on your left that the legal name of the product has to be included on the box of the food supplement. So on your left, you can see a food supplement clearly indicating the legal name food supplement, and then on your right, food for special medical purposes. And this is a compulsory labeling requirement. And besides the legal name, there's other provisions that food manufacturers have to include on the labeling. Here you can see I included a link. This is a link to a very useful tool in case you want to see quickly what are the types of requirements for labeling. It's called the Food Labeling Information System. So besides the usual things that you would see on a label, such as the list of ingredients, quantity, best before, conditions of use, there are very specific statements that are meant just for food supplements and food for special medical purposes. So some of these statements for food supplements include a warning not to exceed the stated recommended daily dose, a statement to the fact that food supplements should not be used as a substitute for a variety diet, a statement to the effect that the products should be stored out of reach of young children, and also, depending on the food supplement, the amount of active nutrients that have a physiological effect. For comparison, food for special medical purposes have many more statements that have to be included. They depend on the specific type of food for special medical purposes. And I just want to draw your attention to three of them. So one of them is a statement that the product must be used under medical supervision. So this does not imply that these type of products have to only be released under medical prescription, but it does mean that the administration of these products have to be monitored by a healthcare professional. Another compulsory statement on the labeling for FSMP is to say for the dietary management of, and you would then state the disease. And also, interestingly, so compared to food supplements, they can have nutrition and health claims on the label, whereas food for special medical purposes, they cannot bear any claims. However, they can have a description of the properties or characteristics that make that product useful in managing the diet that is the disease that is meant for. So in terms of labeling, these are the type of statements that you would expect to have to see on the box of a food supplement and a food for special medical purposes. So we talked that a novel food authorization means a safety evaluation essentially, and that you provide safety and technical data to the European Food Safety Authority. So this is done in the form of a dossier. And now we're going to look at the type of information included in the dossier to substantiate safety of novel foods. So of course, the product, the novel food, has to be very clearly identified and characterized, and this will very much depend on the novel food category it falls under. The novel food category usually is represented by the source of the food. So in the case of the protein extract from pig kidneys, it's sourced from animals, so very specific information regarding animal-derived foods has to be provided. Of course, there has to be a very well-explained manufacturing process, also a flow chart, to also indicate the type of processing aids that are used within the production of the novel food, but also to ensure that there is a HACCP system in place. Next, in order to characterize the novel food, but also to prove safety, the applicant will need to provide analysis of the novel food to show purity, so to show that the novel food is within the limits for heavy metals, for example, contaminants, microbiological parameters, but also to show the nutritional composition and how it fits with the physical-chemical characteristics. And then the applicant will take all this data that it has corroborated, and it will come up with a very specific set of limits and specifications. And we have seen that these specifications are then included in a novel food authorization. To start with the safety substantiation, it's also important to provide a very comprehensive literature review on the history of use, not only of the source of the novel food, but also on the novel food itself. Then the applicant would also be expected to provide a dietary exposure calculation of the novel food, depending on the proposed uses and conditions of use. And to finish off, depending on the nature of the novel food, absorption studies might be required, and depending whether or not the novel food is absorbed or not, further toxicokinetic studies might be needed. Also, depending on the nature of the novel food and whether there is enough literature out there on the history of use of the product, toxicological studies might be needed, as well as allergenicity. So as you can see, there's a lot of data that makes up a novel food dossier, and it can be quite an extensive process to go through, just corroborating all this data. So now that we have looked at what is the legal status of the supplement in the EU, let's compare that to the US. So in the US, diamine oxidase is an ingredient in food supplements, and ingredients added to food supplements that have no history of consumption in food in the US, they have to go through a pre-market almost authorization, which is called a new dietary ingredient notification. And this notification is sent to the FDA 75 days before the product is marketed in the US. And the notification that is sent includes information very similar to what you would expect to find in a novel food dossier. And so the diamine oxidase, so the protein extract from pig kidney containing naturally derived diamine oxidase, that is a new dietary ingredient in the US, and it's commercialized under the same conditions as we have seen in the EU. There's also another route that I want to mention, which is called the self-affirmed GRAS route. And this is basically a route where the industry corroborates the safety information on the novel food, on the food itself. It compiles it into a dossier, it submits it to an expert panel. The expert panel will evaluate the safety and conclude whether the product is safe. So in terms of how different is an NDIN compared to a GRAS route, not so much in terms of the data requirement. In the end, however, irrespective of the path chosen, it's still the responsibility of the food business operator that's placing the product onto the market to ensure that it is safe and compliant. So I'm glad to say we came up to the final end of the presentation. And these are the key messages that I want you to take away from this. First, that diamine oxidase from protein extract of pig kidney is a product that has been evaluated for safety, both in the EU and the US. In the EU, it is approved novel food, and any manufacturer or food business operator wanting to place this product onto the market, they have to ensure that it complies with very tight specifications. In the US, we have seen that the product was reviewed under the new dietary ingredient route, but also there is the alternative of a self-affirmed GRAS. But irrespective of the geography or even the route within that geography to market, it is the responsibility of the food business operator to ensure that they have all the tests to show safety, but also quality of the product that they place onto the market. So thank you very much for your attention. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop me an email.